Hello, Froggy here, and today we'll be exploring Garden in Riven's Lair. I have my light set low so I don't matchmake with people because I don't want to use the intro mission. Because if Garden isn't active, I can use a sparrow and that makes things a lot more convenient. Of course, other people with similarly low light will match with you as well, so I guess it's matchmaking for glitching, basically. There are holes in basically any path, though you'll have to complete the active encounter to get there.
My lair crawls with vermin. Present company excluded, of course.
As long as we don't get the first portal, we're good to go.
How does it work anyway?
As long as the activity is complete, if you're in a room that has a hole you know about, you can just get out that way. I showed this hole in my previous video about Cosmic, although there are some on the monastery route as well that I'll cover in my next video. Well, that wasn't solid. Guess I'll be doing a little grapple flying. You don't necessarily need it to do this, but it does make things a bit more convenient. We're currently just trying to head to either monastery or garden. I think only the garden entrance is two ways, but we can go and see if we can hit a load going in this direction, because if we can, that'll save us some time, since then we can just sparrow fly the rest of the way. Maybe down here. Doesn't seem like we're hitting it. Oh well. No sparrows for us for now. Guess we can just sword fly there. Sadly, there are no holes in the starting area. Well, there is the usual hole, but that hole is outside of the map, so it doesn't do very much good. Over here we've got the wish room that Coil would end in if you get platinum. And we're back over to the garden entrance. Much like with Cosmic, we can get into pretty much all of these rooms, with some minor exceptions that we'll get to a bit later. Naturally, you can get into and out of this structure. This is just the connection hallway into Garden. And we got out that way in my video on Cosmic. Now that we've hit Garden proper, we can sparrow fly. Makes it pretty convenient for getting around. Also, Garden's other name is Sensorium. All of these have their kind of dev label names, as well as their name that shows up to the player. I tend to refer to the loads by their dev name, since those are a lot easier to see from a distance. One neat thing, if you drop down here, there's a sneaky waterfall. You can kind of see what these look like at their ends. Kind of give you some insight into how that whole waterfall graphic works. Now let's see about getting inside of this room. When you're trying to find a hole inside of these sort of cave wall-like structures, you generally kind of want to look at seams, and especially areas where you can see light poking through. Luckily for us, there is such a hole in this direction. You can kind of see that bit of light poking through. And we're in. It can be kind of hard to see the way out, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I think there's a cat somewhere in this room, but I don't think they show up if it's not active. I think it's like around here? But yeah, no cat. The room doesn't have to be like active, but it has to be along the active path at the very least. And this one is neither. I believe this one is Combat 1A or 1A Combat. Then we can check the label in a bit. In the meantime, let's just head out of here. A lot of times these holes are a lot easier to spot from the outside than the inside. Especially if you aren't already up high. Almost got it. And we're back out. These rooms often have several holes, although you wouldn't know that just looking around, because they can be hard to spot from ground level. I don't think that's a hole above us, I think that's just more of the sky, but might as well check. Would feel very silly if it were something else. But yeah, just another way to the ceiling. We should see the room label somewhere up here. Maybe on top of this Lion King looking rock. Something combat. And 1A. The 1 series of rooms corresponds to garden. 2 is monastery. And 3 is cosmic, although not much actually is labeled in cosmic. Probably because those rooms are just very easy to spot from a distance. I really like the structures that this one has outside. Reaver's Orison? I don't know how you pronounce that. Anyways, it is basically Morgoth. We've got the remnants of the hallways that you would take afterwards. I imagine it's the same as you would see if you were to go behind the load in Last Wish. Or at least partially the same, since there would definitely be walls to the left here. Anyways, let's see about breaking into this place. Maybe we'll be lucky if you can go right next to this highly visible structure. Would make for a very easy to remember entrance. Alas, this seems pretty solid. Well, let's follow it around and see what we've got. The last one had a hole just to the left, so maybe we'll get lucky again. And see, there's a kind of wall that's only visible from one direction up there. And we've got another deep seam, which tend to be pretty good for running into holes. This is looking good. Yeah, I think that might be one. And we're in. Just gotta try to remember where that is. Although it's a little bit less relevant here. This is pretty much Morgoth. and we know a way to get out of Morgoth. But first, I wonder how far back this goes. That will be getting all the way to, say, the Wishing Wall, but there's probably... Huh. Well, I'm not convinced that's as far as it goes, so I think I may have just been a little bit too low there. So let's try that with a little bit more height. Oh, seem to have hit something. Doesn't show up to ricochet rounds, so I don't know. Seems we've hit the end of the line in this direction. I'm just not setting a spawn point so that I can just respawn back. Saving a little bit of time. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much all to see in here, so let's get back out. I believe the hole was up and to the right. They're always so difficult to spot here, but this might be it? Well, it could be a different hole. I think there were a few kind of openings along where we were looking. Ah, there we go. But, as I was mentioning, you don't actually have to get out the way you came. As long as you're in here with a sparrow, and it's not along the active route, you can get out via the same sparrow breach we use in Last Wish Patrol. I'm not very good at sparrow breaching, but I promise you this is definitely one of the easier sparrow breaches in the game. Probably want to, I don't know, maybe if I face to the left a little bit more. Oh, come on. There we go. This looks pretty similar to how it would inside of Last Wish. And we're back out. We've just got one more room to deal with, so let's head out that way. Got a ways to go upwards. So we can take a brief break up here. You can kind of see the 1B combat label up there. We're heading over to the boss room now. One boss. So if you look over the edge here, you can kind of see a sort of stripy rock, and that's what I use for a landmark to find this hole. You can just kind of see it in between the rocks up here. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to fully get inside this room. Mostly because I think fully inside is exactly only within that pavilion. And there's this weird sort of intangible to bullets ceiling on top of the whole thing. I was hoping a sparrow would be able to drop through it, but sadly that's not the case. There are a few pockets where it's lower, but not much to do there. Except maybe try to do some sort of res breach. If you get high enough, the lighting effect kind of goes away, which lets you get a clearer view. And we're out of it. And you can see kind of a circly looking thing. It's some dreaming city sort of glowy stuff. Initially I thought it might be a Vex portal, but getting a better view, it does not look like that's the case. You can kind of see it with the lighting in the way. Well, let's get out of here. It is much easier to spot this hole if you're a bit close to the top of the lighting area. Kind of see it right ahead of me here. And we are once again free to roam across the map. Well, that pretty much covers it for garden. Only monastery left. Although, I suppose before I go, we can take a look at the bottom of this room, because that's kind of interesting too. I always forget strand melee doesn't slow you like stasis melee does. Luckily, fall damage doesn't kill us anymore, so no big harm there. Pretty convenient how Eager Edge still kills your downwards momentum. As you can see, the floor is cold, so you can get a look at the underside of that pavilion, which I think is pretty neat. Let's get a better view. There's a solid ceiling above us, so can't get up this way. But this gives us a good vantage point to get a closer look above us. Yeah. Hope you're having fun exploring out of map in this season, and I'll catch you on the next one.